Julie, welcome. Welcome to the Soulful Mamas podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really lovely to have you here. It's really special actually. So yeah, we're grateful. Thank you. Um, do you want to start with just sharing a little bit about your journey into motherhood and what that looked like for you?
Yeah, sure. I entered into motherhood when I was in my early 20s. I was 24. For me, I had a really difficult pregnancy. That was like the real defining point of that time for me, I think. I had hyperemesis and I was very, very ill the whole way throughout my pregnancy, throwing up every day, multiple times. Yeah, it was really difficult. And I was also living a long way away from my family. At the time, I thought, like at the very beginning of the pregnancy journey, I thought that was okay. I was gonna go on my own and I'll be fine and whatnot. But as the journey went on, I realized how much I actually wanted to be near my family. So I was down in the South Island and I did end up returning before birth. Um, yeah, so I would say that in contrast to the pregnancy, early motherhood, I loved it. I loved not being sick anymore. That was a huge thing for me. I felt great, and I kind of always like from early pregnancy, I felt like I was just happy to accept what was. I guess I had a strong instinct that I just felt it was really instinctive to me. I didn't even feel like I needed to do any prenatal classes and didn't do anything like that. And yeah, I took to being a mother quite naturally, I guess.
Hmm, beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so at that point when is that your daughter, your first child?
Yeah, my daughter,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
eldest.
Yeah. So at that point, you're back around family. So you had support or like a bit more of a wraparound feeling in that early stage?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you soon like it's still I can say it's easy, but it wasn't easy. It was just nice to not be sick, you know. That was quite a full-on journey for me. I was blessed with my first child being a child that was a good sleeper and she was real calm and relaxed and a lot of the good things. So it was a nice entry into motherhood. I had my own mother with me during the birth and um, as support and yeah, I did end up, once my daughter was quite young, moving out into the country and kind of living on a farm. So it was quite isolated as well. So I definitely found it quite isolating at times. And I kind of feel like there was different stages in my motherhood journey because I ended up separating with my daughter's father when she was about 2.5. And um, then I have 4 children in total. I had my other 4 children after I got married years later. So there's a bit of a gap between my first and my next 3 children were quite close in age. So that was kind of so when I was having my second child, my first child was starting school. So it was, you know, pretty interesting journey. And it's kind of been that way for me, I think, throughout motherhood. Um, I, yeah, I, different, yeah, um, just a different experience, I guess. I was in a completely different place when I had my other children to my first child. And there were things that I was doing to look after myself a bit better in between pregnancies as well. And luckily, with my consequent pregnancies, I wasn't as sick. It kind of was the standard 4 months kind of thing. And then I felt okay. So,
Mm. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Is that something that you, within the back of your mind at least, that sickness, the illness, feeling so sick throughout pregnancy, was that something that you were concerned about with your following pregnancies, or it, you'd numbed it out?
Um, I was definitely concerned about it. I think once you're out of it, it softens the memory a bit, you know. You kind of think, I could do it one more time perhaps, because you know what the outcome is. And it's you I guess you kind of weigh things up, and it's worth the risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was definitely worried that that I was going to be there again, but I think from quite early on it was clear that it wasn't going to be so dramatic.
Mm.
And yeah, I there were it was a different world as well that I was living in at that time. And I was working full time, and lots of various things that yeah, lots of different factors at play. But I yeah, I just found it definitely felt different, and I didn't feel like I was going to be trapped in that same place.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so true though, isn't it? With a bit of time and age and a bit more awareness, maturity, whatever it is, um, you are feeling possibly different in your body, but also you have different resources around you, perhaps to support in whatever it is, whether it's, feeling sick or feeling stressed or whatever it is. It's interesting what age, support, state, all of that can factor in. Do you mean you're working full time with your first daughter or your subsequent, their following children?
I kind of was with both, but just in totally different ways.
Mm.
So, with my first child, we were on a bit of an adventure, like exploring the South Island, picking up work along the way, kind of living that free life. And I was working on vineyards and things like that. So it was all very kind of casual work, but very physical work. The sort of work that you can't do very easily when you're pregnant. And obviously, I had concerns. We were working on little baby vineyards. There was lots of squatting and crouching and fertilizing and things that didn't sit well regardless. But I felt like I was on a boat, basically. That's how I'd kind of describe it, feeling like seasick constantly. So I did end up having to give up work. And I think the like with everything that was going on, the insecurity of the relationship and the work and everything else, it all compounded as well, you know, emotionally. I wasn't feeling very supported, and yeah, there was stress and whatnot contributing to it. Yeah, I'm sure that all of that factored into how I felt as well. Whereas obviously it's a bit different if you're when I was working full time, when I was pregnant with my second child, I was when my daughter was little, I had gone to uni and done early childhood teaching. So I was working as an early childhood teacher, and that came with its own set of challenges too. And it's not something I stuck to after I had had my third child because and sorry, this is going off track a bit, but
No, that's
still
totally
within the
fine.
parenting journey. I just felt at that time like I was starting to give more to other children than to my own. I was coming home from work and feeling like I didn't have many more stories left in me to read, and
Can
just
relate. Yeah.
yeah, I just felt like I couldn't be the best mum. So that was a time when I actually stepped back and reassessed what was happening. I had a nanny for a while I went off to work with other people's children, and someone stayed home with my children. And yeah, that didn't last long because it didn't feel right at all to me. And then I was able to as well because, there's sacrifices and there's support you need to do it and whatnot. But I was able to be a stay-at-home mum, and I used to take my children to play centres. So we moved out in the country in a different direction. I stayed at home with my children, the younger ones, and did the play centre journey with them. And I really enjoyed that. And yeah, it was a really beautiful, special time. And I was really grateful to be able to give them that. Yeah, it was a really, really wonderful time. But yeah, and amongst all that, I was going through some health issues of my own, which kind of led me in a different journey again. So yeah, I basically, when my youngest was just wondering which way to go with this. Um, After my third child, I felt like it felt like my health was starting to spiral, basically. I I found myself with no energy and just starting to feel like I was allergic to everything. Lots of gut issues and just chronic sinus infections, just ongoing issues, basically. It was like a snowball rolling down the hill, collecting different symptoms. And yeah, it was just really an easy time. And at that time, I basically started seeking support for myself. Uh, and I I ended up seeing a integrative doctor after not getting very far with the medical system. The doctor I saw told me it was quite normal to feel like you have no energy when you're a mother, and offered me some antidepressants. I did get a referral to a ear, nose, and throat surgeon for the sinus issues I was having, which ended up being not great, but it did help give me some insight. And so I did end up seeing this integrative doctor as well, who helped me basically by just helping me change my diet. So I, after not wanting to take the antidepressants, I went to the ear, nose, and throat specialist to see if I could get some insight. I thought maybe I might need sinus surgery or something, because it was just this ongoing chronic issue that needed constant steroids and antibiotics and whatnot. So, as well as dishing me out some more of those, he just happened to mention that my thyroid looked swollen and sent me away for some scans, and that ended up being a bit of a clue for me. And then the integrative doctor that I saw after that basically told me that I went to him because I thought I would need thyroid medication, but I was open to a natural um, a natural view as well. He told me that I could do a lot just through simply changing my diet. So I went on an elimination diet and did some various dietary things with him, and also a lot of environmental things, changing, the chemical exposure and things like that, and was able to restore my health. So from daily chronic headaches, gut issues, everything, I started feeling really good again, and the seed was planted. So fast forward to so that was in my early 30s. Fast forward to when my daughter was nearing 5, I decided that I wanted to help other people in the way I had been helped, and went off to the naturopathic college to study nutritional medicine. So yeah,
Wow.
it was another turning point, really.
Yeah. I love that you, I mean, there's so many opportunities along the way, and you could, like crossroads, many of them, and you could choose different paths, and you were listening to something was guiding you along. Go this way, go this way, or, the breadcrumbs that are along the path, and um, to get you from, that beginning point to where you are now, and that whole wanting to help others, other women. And yeah, it's a big driver, isn't it? When we've experienced something, to try and wanting to support others going through a similar thing, so that journey doesn't have to be so difficult or challenging for them, because you've got the experience and the tools and the resources that may well work for them too. So yeah, that's pretty amazing that you listened. I think that's the key. Often we don't always listen. Hey, it's there, but
Mm.
it's pretty easy to go to the GP and you get the script and you take the medication. That's the easy road. It's because I can't imagine, we can share with your integrative doctor, it wouldn't have been an overnight fix. I can imagine it's a bit of, when you're healing at gut level and changing environments and diets and everything, it takes a wee while.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was on such a tight budget that he never really had the chance to explain what was going on to me, like what was going on for me. He really just gave me the solution. And so it wasn't until I learned more that I understood what was kind of going on, because basically my thyroid was attacking itself. well, my immune system was attacking my thyroid. So I had developed an autoimmune thyroid condition. Um, the scan that the specialist sent me to obviously showed the thyroid enlargement and that I had some nodules and things going on there. But my blood tests were normal. So I wasn't ready to replace thyroid hormones or anything yet. The medical approach was basically, let's just wait and see. So basically, just wait for it to stop doing what it needs to do so we can replace the hormones for you. So I'm really grateful to myself for seeing the integrative doctor. And even though I only went to see him a few times, he still planted that seed for me. And even though I was in a really busy phase of life with so much going on, I was committed to making those changes because, yes, like you say, it wasn't easy and it wasn't overnight. And it was a very step-by-step process. I did have to jump all in with the dietary stuff, but with like the personal care stuff, being on a limited budget at the time, it was a case of, okay, that's run out. So instead of buying that from the supermarket, I'll go to the health shop and buy that. And slowly learning about all the different ingredients and things and, you know, what to avoid and what not. But yeah, so basically what I learned years later was that the autoimmune thyroid disease that I was experiencing, or disease, was had all started with my gut, leaky gut syndrome, which had led me to experiencing all these different allergies and whatnot. And I also had some other things going on. I had chronic inflammation from living in an environment that was basically full of mold. So that wasn't helping anything either, especially with the sinus infections and everything. And these strains on the body, result in feeling chronic fatigue and those other things I was feeling. So there was no way that any of that was just normal tiredness from being a mum. It wasn't until I had gone through the process for a few months and I had my head clear that I actually realized how long I'd been living in this brain foggy, hazy state, and yeah, I can certainly admire myself for doing, managing to do what I did as a mum and to everything I did in that state because yeah, it certainly wasn't normal to be in that low grade state. And I think until you feel good, you don't realize how bad it is.
Exactly. Yeah, 100% agree. And you wonder how many people are actually living in that space and they don't know any different. Um,
Yeah.
did you have
And
any external, like your husband or other family members or friends encourage you, or are they so used to you being in that space that was Julie? Like they didn't think to say, you should go and have this looked at, or are you okay? Did any of that happen?
uh, I don't really think a lot of that was happening. I think people just assumed that I was tired from having my children close together and, just from the load I was under. I think, because I probably internalize things a lot as well, I people probably didn't realize how bad I felt. I was definitely running off adrenaline as well at that time. I think there's, with the whole stress response, we get into the adaptation state, which is basically, we've been pumping stress hormones for so long, our body just kind of gets used to it, and we're okay
Yes.
until we're not.
Yes.
They call it the adaptation sort of phase, and that's the before you hit the wall phase.
Right.
And I absolutely hit the wall, even though I had been doing all the healing stuff. And it happens, sometimes when you're healing, you still have been in that state for so long that you still, you feel good. Like, I felt much better, but a few years later, even doing all the right things, I still had the crash once once I basically slowed down a bit and I was able to. It's kind of like, the teachers
Yes.
on holiday
It's
getting
just what I was
sick
thinking
or
of. Yes. Yeah.
yeah, and it's yeah. I mean, there was a lot I did that would have softened the blow physically. Taking the B vitamins, taking the magnesium, not adding the extra stress to my body of eating things that my body was really sensitive to. I've got a real issue with gluten. Removing myself from that mold environment, like there was a lot I was doing to physically support myself, but I actually hadn't done all the lifestyle things yet, and I was still kind of expecting too much from myself where I was at, and yeah, just it all still caught up with me, and I still hit the wall, but I obviously already had some good tools in place. I had to learn the other lifestyle tools and the things, the self-care, not the bubble baths and stuff, but the boundaries and the learning to say no.
Yes.
Because I had found myself in this place of kind of doing everything for everyone without thinking about myself. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's I've I've had a lot of health challenges, and I've had to learn to be a lot more conscious and just my whole holistic being, basically. I've had to go through every layer of healing by experience, I guess.
Yes, it does. It sounds like it. When you say hit the wall, how long after your initial, like from the beginning of your that holistic healing journey, how long, what's the time frame from between that and that?
Um, I'm just thinking, uh, it was probably a few years later because I hadn't slowed down, I think.
Mm,
It, I mean, it's always going to look different for different people. And I see it because now that, where I am at in my journey now is that I am helping other people, through my nutrition business. And, I, I see it in a lot of women that come to me. I quite quickly can often just quickly assess in my mind where on that scale they are. It was at least a few years later, with the things like mold and whatnot. I didn't really start healing until I was out of the environment that
Yeah.
had caused that. Yeah. And I hadn't slowed down for that to catch up with me, I think. And I just, when it did hit, it was like I did initially feel like I was maybe going back to that place, that spiral. But I, because I was studying and whatnot at the time, I was a bit more aware of what
Mm.
was going on and why. And I, instead of being scared and worried and whatnot, I decided to actually make the changes that my body was calling for, and just, yeah, be more proactive. It it was definitely more of the non-physical things that I needed to actually do at that
Yeah.
point. But then, there's crossover. Like, for example, I started doing yoga, which you would think, oh, that's physical, but it was actually self-care on quite a few different levels.
Yeah.
um, and yeah, it it actually helped me connect back with my body. Um, I think we go through so much that sometimes we can kind of disconnect. And I was kind of at a stage in that kind of martyrdom almost, where people would ask me what I like to do or what my hobbies were. And I honestly couldn't even say. Um, and when I started doing yoga, there would be things like I just started with a really, really gentle yoga, and we were advised to do things like massage your feet or something like that. And it just felt real foreign to me. There was just this real disconnect that I didn't see happen until I was totally disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, just had to come back into myself really, and yeah, just learn to change everything that had got me into that place basically. And none of it's a quick fix.
No.
No, it's not just one single thing either. It's everything. And yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I can hear so many people saying, "Oh, that's me," or "Oh, I'm doing that exact same thing." And at what point do we actually listen? How far do we have to push ourselves, or how is that message from our body and whatever physical body, emotional, mental, spiritual, whatever that body is that wants to express itself, it has to find an avenue at some point. Did you find that as you made changes, your family made them with you, or were you making, if, for example, your food, the dietary, was it you making your own food for you and then your family had something different, or did you do it as a family?
Um, Initially, I think like when I was doing the elimination diet, say right back then, it was such a huge change that it was pretty much just doing it for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then as things evolved, you soon learn how to translate that in a way that works for your other family members. And
Yeah.
you do it like I try and help people do things that are going to work for them.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of skill, actually, a lot of time to learn to do that for myself. Um, I think with an elimination diet, it was quite easy in a way because there's just so much that you can't have, that you're just, you're so limited to what you can eat. And with kids, they do tend to like things quite simple. So you can maybe just add in a few extra things for them, or um, it's definitely something that has really, the journey's transformed all of us. It's definitely touched all of us. Even my my daughter, the daughter that made me a mother, my eldest, she's turned 18 now, and she's been at that in that kind of stage for the last few years. We're living in town for the first time in many, many years, and she has her own money, and she's free to make her own choices. And she is still a teenager. She still will buy the Red Bulls or something sometimes, but she's got that really solid grounding, I think, as well, where I hear her, I hear my voice come out of her when she's talking to her boyfriend or something and saying, "Oh, you need a lot more protein than that," or that's not a good fat," or
Yeah.
that's too much sugar. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I kind of, with my children, I've always kind of adopted that approach where I don't want to micromanage them too much. I don't want I'm aware of they do need some exposure to a wide variety of things as well, and they are on their own journey as well. They need to learn some things for themselves, and they need to know how things feel for themselves as
Yeah.
well. But I'm always I'm always teaching them things, and they're pretty receptive, and they've got a good grounding, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like you said with your the doctor, he planted the seeds, and it's kind of
Mm.
what you've done, we're doing for your children. And yep, they have to go out and have their experiences, but they'll, even if it's like you said, changing environmental things, like it would have been your washing powder and soaps, and just awareness. There's a consciousness around that, making a, really thinking about what's in that product rather than, oh, that's the closest one, that's the cheapest one. It just makes us stop and think. And I think that's hopefully what our children have, as well. Like my daughter, she had really bad eczema when she was young, very, very bad. So she went through similar thing to what you're describing for yourself. Um, and now she's 12. She will know the consequence of eating certain things. And I kind of, when she's younger, there's, you want to wrap them up and make sure she's okay because it was awful for her. But now she kind of needs to make those choices, which may not always be the best ones, for her to see the result or consequence of. And then she can own that herself and realize, okay, so having that, eating gluten, especially that amount, is not going to, it's going to result in me having a flare up, and it's going to be really itchy and uncomfortable. And so then it's her choice rather than
Mm.
me, or like you say, micromanaging, because you kind of want to, but yeah, I hear you. Yeah. So it's interesting, your whole journey, these experiences, and how you've navigated them and has led you to where you are now. I love the way you just said, when you're working with your clients, you meet them where they're at. So if you know they haven't got, if they're not going to hear, they're not ready to receive something, you'll give them what they can so that at least they can make a step towards that, um, the end result, or within their budget, something, a practical something that they can do if they can't afford this, try or at least eliminate that. Yeah, yeah. So do you want to
Yeah.
share, like, where are you at now and working with people? What's your main, yeah, share with us what you do.
Um, okay, so now so basically because of my journey with my thyroid, and just from what I learned, through having a daughter and a stepdaughter who were teenagers, through basically, I always had an affinity for helping women with hormonal issues. And so once I graduated, I kind of, at first, I wanted to help everyone with everything, as you do. And I think the issue with that is that you get so overwhelmed with all this different training. You want to do every course, you want to watch every webinar. So I knew I had to narrow things down. So I decided to focus on women's health, and even then it was still very, very broad, right? I because women's health isn't secondary to general health, so you're still helping with the general things as well as, you know, as well as helping with the other things on top. As I just kind of explained to you with my own journey, a lot of my thyroid was actually coming back to my gut, and yeah, it's never, it's still very, very broad. I've got a humongous love of learning, and I had done a few different careers, as you kind of caught on to before doing this, and I feel like I've finally found something that is so broad, and I'll just never, I'll never tire. I'll never not have something new to learn. There's just so much to learn. Um, but yeah, so I kept niching down. I still am helping some young women with things like endometriosis. That's really important to me because they're young and their quality of life is severely impacted, and that's definitely an area I'm still interested in. But basically, I've really, over the last few years, moved into the perimenopause space. It's actually only, even though I've been researching it for a few years, it's only this year when I felt like I really want to just mainly share about perimenopause. The reason for that is I think it's something that's kind of been brushed aside as being a bit taboo, or the conversation's just not there enough. And when it is there, like obviously the algorithm's feeding me lots of that now because I'm researching it. It's really disempowering information. It's kind of all doom and gloom, like the whole menopause equals old age. That's kind of the message I'm hearing, and it's not like that. And it's like almost like a disease or something, when it's actually just a normal transitionary stage for women. So yeah, I guess I feel really passionate about kind of empowering women through perimenopause. It's something that can sneak up on you, and it did for me. I'm 43 next week. I I've talked to my mother about, how old she was when she went through menopause. That's something I definitely recommend doing, just to help you get a bit of an idea of when, you could expect that, to everyone listening. And my mum said 47. So with the average being around 52, and knowing that perimenopause is actually not menopause. Menopause is when you stop menstruating for a year. Perimenopause is the lead up. So it can be a 12-year process. So women from their mid-30s can be entering perimenopause and have no idea, because in their mind it's something that happens when you're 50.
Yeah.
So it's a period of recalibration, and it includes a lot of body systems recalibrating. And for me, I guess it snuck up on me because even though I knew it could happen in your late 30s, I didn't understand how it would affect like the immune system and some of the other body systems. I knew about hot flushes and, things like your menstrual cycle changes and whatnot. But yeah, basically the symptoms that I experienced when I first entered perimenopause were not what I would have linked to perimenopause. So yeah, I feel like I really want to open that conversation so women know what's happening, know what to expect, know when to expect it. Everyone's going to be different, of course. And also, yeah, just to help women feel more empowered through the whole process and know that it's a normal recalibration, and there is an end as
Yeah.
well. A lot of women actually report feeling better than ever
Yeah.
post-menopause. But it is a vulnerable time. Just it's like second puberty, basically. Our first puberty is a vulnerable time as well, where things will come up to the surface, and it's a time where things do come up, and some of those things that are coming up aren't aren't necessarily because of your hormones, but yeah, basically our hormones have kind of softened them, but they were underlying. And that's a real interesting one that I'm exploring at the moment, because I'm seeing quite a lot of it where actually estrogen and progesterone can have quite an anti-inflammatory effect on us. And so some people may find things that they experienced when they were younger, perhaps, that quietened down for a while, resurfacing. And I guess because of my whole journey and everything I've been through, I've learned to receive these symptoms as messages,
Yes.
messages that I may need to address rather than suppress, and I kind of have made the conscious decision that and I won't go into all my reasons. I'm going to write a blog about this, because it's honestly another whole story that
Part two. Yeah.
would take another hour to go
Yeah.
through. But yeah, basically, I've chosen for myself not to do any of the hormone replacement or anything like that. That's really quite strongly being pushed at the moment. Yeah, for multiple reasons, but yeah, for me, the risk benefit doesn't personally weigh up. And yeah, so I know that there's other people like me as well that either can't or don't want to do hormone replacement. I think they're just calling it hormonal therapy at the moment because you're kind of not replacing your hormones because they're meant to be declining anyway. But um, yeah, it's hard to find information or
Mm-hmm.
people that are not wanting to do exogenous hormones, hormones from outside of your body, um, to find the information on what we can do to support ourselves. And yeah, so I've wanted to throw myself into learning everything I can for myself and to help others as well. So
Mm.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
where I am.
I love that. And I love that that's the journey you're on, selfishly, because it's the journey I'm currently on. But I hear you. Everything you're saying resonates so deeply, so strongly. And um, just that word recalibration, because I felt like that is what our bodies, and everything every symptom is a message. Like that so makes sense for me as well, um, because it's a conversation that's not openly had and discussed. It's when these symptoms occur and you just think, gosh, I've got arthritis already. What's happening? There's all of these things, and um, you don't always put them together to realize, oh, it's this. And because it's not, I mean, I'm fortunate I do have other people that would speak quite openly about all of these things. But if you didn't have that same support group for open conversations, then you'd think, oh gosh. And then you get trapped in the getting old. I
Mm,
can't move as much and I can't exercise as much. And my hair is falling out. And and your whole sense of worth and self esteem can just plummet if you haven't got any um, baseline or support or that capacity to have a conversation. And it actually is, I think when we reframe it, it's actually really empowering and it's quite exciting because we're really stepping into that wise woman self rather than, you know, put you out to pasture. So I
mm,
think the more of us that can be empowered, like you're saying, and have not a rise up, but just step out and now this is who I am, what I'm doing. Um, who knows, the world might be a way better place.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And you know what? Like with what you're saying with wise women and everything as well, we kind of this is a little bit of a term, but we will our hormone levels will return to quite similar levels as what they were when we were like 11 years old, that
Mhm.
kind of age. And I just think sometimes that we're our truest selves around that age as well,
Yeah.
like it's really quite cool to think I quite want to know who I am without the estrogen and
Yeah.
and being softened by the hormones. um I don't think the 11-year-old version of me would have fallen into that kind of mated stage either, like I don't know, like unleash
Yeah.
the wise woman
Oh,
because
love it. Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Because it's that wisdom of innocence or not even, there's no, it's almost like the no filter. No, because you just say the
yeah.
truth as it is.
Yeah, the people pleasing and things like that do start to kind of fall
Mm-hmm.
away as you get older anyway. And maybe dialing down that calming progesterone and stuff isn't necessarily that much of a bad idea. Um, I've just been my brain's just been so happy diving into all of these different perspectives and things. And, I know like my great grandmother was thrown in a crazy house, whatever they called them back then. I I know lots of women probably have had other women in their families in certain situations. And when the estrogen therapy and that was first introduced, it was about calming women down and quietening them and pacifying them. So there's so many different layers to explore, I think. And yeah, I mean, we're still going to be the good humans that we are, but maybe it will be a wonderful thing to operate with once we recalibrate. I understand the calibration period can be a bit rough. It's like you are changing fuel. You're going from running off one sort of fuel to another, and it's real important, like what I was saying about our adrenals and looking after ourselves and like allowing us to recover from those stressful situations. Things like that are really important. Like, I'm glad I went through what I did when I did, because those important lessons are helpful now, because our adrenal glands, for example, they can make a buffer of estrogen and progesterone once our ovaries start dialing down a bit. So if we're looking after ourselves and aren't completely depleted, we get that nice little buffer.
Right.
Yeah, they're not going to replace 100%, but it does help ease things. And there's obviously a lot of things we can do to look after ourselves during the recalibration. And we really should listen to the symptoms and things as well,
Yeah.
because I do feel like they're coming up for a reason. And they're while they're not all necessarily because of your hormones, they can be coming up at that time because they're not, like, the hormones did offer that little bit of inflammatory support, or anti-inflammatory support, I guess you could say. But yeah, things, these things like, I know for me, I had a virus, the Epstein-Barr virus, like living in my nervous system and things like that did kind of show up pre-puberty. And now, I did have a resurface of that. And actually, I've heard of lots of women say that too, that they got shingles or something like that. And I mean, you wouldn't associate that necessarily with perimenopause, but yeah, with those hormones declining, uh things can come up. And yeah, it's good to address things as they come up. There If you think about it, most women will perhaps have another 40 or 50 years of life post menopause. So we want to, what we're doing now is the investing, right? So we're doing the investing in that next phase of our life now, to make sure that that we can really be the best that we can.
Yeah. Gosh, so good. So much in there, Julie. Like, yeah, thank you so much for all of that. You just got so much knowledge, so much wisdom in there. It just makes sense, doesn't it? And so if people want to learn more about what you offer or what you do, where's the best place to sort of contact you? Do you have a website or?
I do
Instagram?
have a website. So my business is Nurture Nutrition. People sometimes have problems saying it. So yeah, Nurture
Nurturing nutrition.
Nutrition.
Yeah.
And I am on Facebook and Instagram. I've been on Facebook for quite a long time, so that's kind of like my main place. And I have started a group which I had the group already, but I've kind of transitioned it into a natural perimenopause support group. So I'll send you through the links for
Yeah.
that as well.
Wonderful.
And yeah, I've just been basically working on a course which I'm just about to release, which basically just takes you through all the foundation stuff. How to have a balanced diet, all of that. It's centered, like the course I've created is centered around weight loss, this particular one, because that was the main thing that my community said that they needed help with.
Mm-hmm.
But because, as you can tell, I'm very holistic in nature. It's actually a 12-week course that addresses sleep, movement, eating a balanced diet, all those sorts of things. So it's not a calorie counting kind of course. It's the things I say on repeat all the time to people, but I don't want them to have to book 12 sessions to do it
Yeah.
all when I'm just saying it on repeat, basically. So yeah, I do offer one-to-one support as well, which is where I recommend people come if they do have
Mm.
the more serious symptoms and things. Particularly, I love it when people come through that have actually exhausted the medical system and whatnot, because then I know that they've been checked for red flags and all that kind of thing as well. And yeah, like I say, I always work with where people are at, go at their pace. And if they're on medications and things like that, I will always work within what's safe for them,
Yeah.
and yeah, just make things work for people, and obviously
Mm.
trained around making sure that nothing I offer would interfere with any medications or anything like that as well.
Yeah.
um yeah, I'm always happy to work with people that just sort of starting their journey. That's really really because I've been in that space as a busy
Mm.
mum, and I know what it's like. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you for all of it, all what you're doing and all what you're bringing. And yeah, it's a challenge that you've been through all these experiences, but a gift for your your children and your your network, your community, and future women that will benefit from working with you. So yeah, thank you. But I do wonder, all the giving is still in that space of helping and supporting other people, other women. What do you do for yourself now that is soul filling? What do you do for you to keep your soul full?
I do quite a lot of things. I like to be in natural spaces, going for walks on my own. I'm an introvert, so I have to recover after peopling. Just alone time in natural spaces is a big one for me. And I like reading and going walking around markets and checking out books and plants. That's my weakness. And I just love having a good bath. And yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like there's a lot of things that I do to really fill my soul now. So
yeah,
I've
beautiful.
learned the art of balance. It may have taken me a lot. I'm a bit of an A-type woman, but yeah, I've definitely learned, even though it's been the hard way.
Yeah. I think that's for many of us, isn't it? And I think
Yeah.
especially those of us doing, this sort of work now, it's kind of like, you don't need to do exactly what I did to make all those mistakes. Let me help you.
Yes. Like yeah, you see people that are really, at both ends of the spectrum basically. So it's wherever you are is the perfect place to start if you know that you need to make some changes, to find that balance. Yeah. Or to
Yeah,
find the
beautiful.
body that can balance.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Julie, thank you so much. I could keep talking to you. It could easily be another hour or so, but and maybe another time. Actually, we'll
Yeah.
to be continue. But yeah, I really appreciate your time and all of that. Yeah, aha moments in there and little pearls. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.